got it. We're good. It just doesn't, that button doesn't show up if I have my screen shared.
Right.
Doesn't let me see that. Okay, but I think we are good. So we got a couple more minutes, but let me mention to our students who are arriving now that I think Rowan just sent you a reminder, but please do have that document where you can take notes open so we can take, you're able to provide feedback to your fellow students. And also a reminder that whoever in your group is going to be presenting should have the presentation open and be ready to share that presentation in present mode. So you want it open to your presentation because we'll rotate through each of you so that your group has the opportunity to advance slides as opposed to me advancing slides. Who's we got here? It looks like, are we missing anyone? Do I see Reed and do I see
Present.
Gwyneth? Those are the people who I'm noticing I'm not seeing right now. Anyone else who's missing right now?
Just Gwen, but she just got here and is setting up.
Okay, great. And Reed is not yet here yet. Is that right?
I am here.
Oh, okay, good. Great.
Everyone else is here, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I had said we were going to start on time, and I'm going to go ahead and have us do that. So I want to start by thanking our guests, Diane Ramos, Linda Arbogast, and Elizabeth Meadows for participating in our class today. Our class over the course of this semester will make several public presentations. This is their first public presentation. And so we want to cut them a little bit of slack on that one as they experiment with this. So you guys can all take a deep breath and we're gonna do great in this. Our objective today is really to share with you the work that these students are going to be doing this semester on enhancing the environmental dashboard in various ways. And the work they do relates in some ways to the work that Environmental Dashboard and Community Hub are doing for the city, but their projects are really not necessarily directly focused on the particular things that we've talked about in our city council presentations. They all do connect with that. But as a whole, they're all contributing to various components of this project. And although I think all of our guests today have a good understanding of the Environmental Dashboard project as a whole, I just wanted to sort of remind you of the different components of Dashboard and remind you of the sort of overall goal of technology that is community-centered and serves the function of connecting different people within the community in a variety of different ways. And so everything they are doing really is focused on achieving that goal of drawing connections within the community of Oberlin. And also we're doing a little bit of work in Cleveland as well. So just quick reminder that in general, we tend to think about there being 4 connected interrelated components of Dashboard: the community calendar, and we have a group that's actually focusing on directly on helping to promote the community calendar this semester, so they'll talk about their work. Community Voices, that combines images of folks from the community with thoughts that are moving our community forward on the community and on environmental issues. Building Dashboard, the component that is sort of data-driven, and we have a couple presentations that are going to focus on Building Dashboard and the associated Building OS system, and then Citywide Dashboard, which we're actually not going to say much about today at all because we don't have a project that is specifically focused on that. But just wanted to present those as context. And obviously those are sort of the content that's displayed, but we've got these different venues in which stuff is displayed. Most of the work today will focus on what goes on digital signs, also a little bit on website, and there'll be at least a reference, I think, the phone app that we're working on developing, and how some of the content will be displayed on that. So that's just a bit of an introduction before introducing our students and the topics they're going to talk about today. So these are the 4 groups, the 4 projects for this semester and their membership. So we've got a project that will be telling us first about Oberlin Community Calendar and the efforts underway to promote that, so that even more members of the community are taking advantage of what is already, I think, kind of a central way that people that people share events within the community. But how can we do more in terms of sharing that? We've got a group that's going to talk a little bit about developing location-specific content for the different screens in the town, and their plans for creating a stronger sense of connection between the different organizations that are participating in this and the content on those screens. We have a group that's interested in thinking about how we might engage some of the youngest members of our community more actively in Dashboard, and in particular, how we might think as Oberlin moves towards wrapping up this new K-5 school, how we might do a better job of introducing the youngest kids in those schools to Environmental Dashboard as a sort of like component of the curriculum that then they'll be engaged in throughout the rest of their experience. And then our final group is going to talk a little bit about an instructional video that they're working on, which is focused on our Cleveland project, our collaboration with the Great Lakes Science Center, but which is also a template for something that we're interested in developing for our local Oberlin schools as well. So I'm going to go ahead and actually turn things over to our first group to introduce themselves and introduce their project. So Thayer and Anoka, I'm not sure which of you is doing the screen share for your group, but now would be a good time to share your screen. You should have the capacity to do that.
You guys seeing the presentation right now?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you once again for having us in today. My collaborator's name is Anoka Venugopal, and I'm Thayer Preston. I have lived in Oberlin for 20 years, and as a lifelong resident of Oberlin, I know that Oberlin is a small town where local events are the heartbeat of the community. Big Parade, for example, Illumination Night, and Chalk Walk are popular, well-attended events that positively impact the town. But what about the virtual pumpkin contest this week, or the new art show at Fava Gallery, or the weekly jazz forum that is happening in Tappan Square? How might Oberlin be impacted if all of its events were seen by its residents? How might Oberlin and its businesses prosper financially if more people spent time downtown? We hope to work with the Oberlin Business Partnership, the city, as well as business owners and faith groups to promote the Environmental Dashboard community calendar in an effort to answer these fundamental questions. All right, next slide, please. So what is happening this week in Oberlin? If you were looking for a centralized community hub to find out what events are taking place in Oberlin over the next couple of weeks, would you immediately check the Environmental Dashboard website to see what is happening on the community calendar? That answer is probably no. And that is the key issue that we are hoping to change with our project. So what is the community calendar, you might ask? Well, it's actually been in existence since 2017, but is yet to become a popularized resource that OBs use, either the town or college residents. It also has an e-newsletter that only has about 250 subscribers in a town of 8,000 people. So the community calendar consists of 6 main components. The first being a sequential display of calendar event content that is explicitly designed for use on environmental dashboard signage that is already downtown. And there's an interactive online calendar within environmentaldashboard.org's website as well. And that calendar is embeddable into other organizations' websites. There's a public interface where community members can post events, announcements, and volunteer opportunities. And then that weekly newsletter that summarizes all of that and summarizes description events is sent out to subscribers, and that subscription is free. And then finally, there's also an administrative interface where events, announcement, and volunteer opportunities are approved before they are shared with the public. There is some, if you look at the photos there is some existing environmental dashboard specific social media presences in Oberlin, but there's no specific community calendar one. So we're trying to separate those out. And now I'll hand it over to Anoka.
There. So what I'm going to show on this slide on what I've just shown is currently what the community calendar kind of looks like on the website. As you can see here, we have some listed events, upcoming events like a virtual pumpkin contest, candidates in conversation. And then on the top right, as you can see here, is a mini version of the calendar. And then this is what the calendar kind of looks like when you click on it. For the week of October 4th, we have some events like the Drive Yourself Tour with Main Street Antiques and introducing Oberlin's District Prevention Educator. And on the bottom is kind of what the presentation for the community calendar looks like on the environmental dashboard. So this is what you would see for the Candidates in Conversation event. I encourage people to attend. So on the next slide, we're going to be talking about the desired outcomes with the community calendar. So we would really like to increase several facets of the calendar, such as engagement with it and the weekly newsletter that currently, we only have around 250 subscribers to, but in town around 10,000 people. We really think we can capitalize on creating a better community reputation for the newsletter. We'd also really like to increase how many people are uploading events to the calendar. Again, as they are mentioned with the Tap and Bandstand, that's really an event that a lot of people could have attended. And I did see a good amount of engagement at it this weekend, but I also feel that if it had been located on the newsletter as well as the website, we could have increased how many people were attending that event. Yeah. So, and we think that in increasing event attendance, we really can develop and make Oberlin a much more active and connected community. It's already known for being very active and connected, but especially during a time like COVID, where isolation is a bit more prominent, we want to make people feel a bit more connected with one another, and usage of the newsletter really promotes this, we feel. So our approach. One approach that we have to this is material promotion. We have some ideas of stickers and a t-shirt giveaway. If you want to look at Thayer's t-shirt, that's one idea for a shirt for the environmental dashboard. And we really want to make it limited supply because we feel that according to psychological principles that we studied, such as the principle of scarcity, when you have a limited supply, it is much more appealing to people. Additionally, we hope to create some posters and put them in large community hubs, such as the FEV downtown or the Oberlin Public Library, or even in Wilder Hall, because there's a really great deal of people coming through, and we think that they could really use that. And on these posters, we hope to put QR codes that people can scan to instantly be linked to a subscription page. Again, there's existing social media such as the Environment Dashboard Facebook and the Instagram, which you already saw. On the Facebook page, we currently have around 530 followers. So we feel that we can already promote that with an existing decent amount of followers. And as well, we also have email lists. We really hope to use the faith-based communities and certain platforms such as Nextdoor, which are used already by a great deal of Oberlin residents who are really active in the community, and we are sure they'd be willing to get more involved. And on our last page, we have a QR code that you guys can scan. It is completely free, and we encourage you all to use it to subscribe to the Oberlin newsletter and be engaged in the Oberlin community. And now I'm going to pass it over to the location-specific content environmental dashboard group with Reed, John, and Amanda.
We're going to do things a little bit differently in the sense that I said we'd allow for a couple questions beforehand, just so folks in our audience have a chance to share some instant thoughts. So we'll do like a couple minutes if there are any questions or comments from audience members, and then we'll have some time, we'll reserve time at the end for more general stuff too. But if you have comments specifically on what they said on the calendar or questions for them, we'll take a couple minutes now for those.
I have, this is Elizabeth. I have two comments. Number one, this is I would say it's all new to me, but a great deal of it is new to me. But the idea of Nextdoor, is that a site? Tell me about Nextdoor.
Nextdoor, as far as I understand, is kind of an area where people from Oberlin can post things that they need or want, or just kind of promote various events. And I think that I recall Professor Peterson sending us something about a Halloween sort of event. And I really think it's for Oberlin residents to be engaged and kind of already discuss current happenings within the town. And we kind of think by linking that existing database with what the community calendar is doing, we can kind of merge the efforts.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then my second comment is about the, you were talking about promotional things that you can use, such as the t-shirt posters, and public library would be one of the sites for putting the posters. For residents, have you thought about putting posters perhaps at IGA? I don't know if Walmart allows you to put up posters. I have no idea. But places that residents go to on a pretty regular basis, at even Drug Mart, that might be a way to get residents of Oberlin a little more engaged. I would certainly like that. You guys have some good stuff and I didn't know about it, so I intend to take advantage of it. Go ahead. I'm done.
That's wonderful.
I have a couple questions, comments. So when I was thinking about your promotional activities, I was thinking of how, what would inspire me to sign up. And honestly, if it's something that's going to come in my email, I would want it to be an email. So I was really happy to see that was a suggestion. And I was thinking about the various groups that have email lists. There's a few church email lists. The city has an email list. Because, if I get an email, well, a lot of them I will ignore, but if I get one that I open and I have an easy way to click on it to subscribe, I'm going to be way more likely to do it than if I see a poster. I like the QFR code though, that will make it easier. I think for some people that would, and I would probably do it, but I think there are a lot of people who would be like, no, that's not something I do. So I think thinking about just making it super easy. I mean, the t-shirts are cute and fun and, Thayer, I'm going to want one, but I think thinking about making it really easy.
Thayer, could you kind of stand up so I can see your t-shirt? Works for me. Okay, thank you.
All right, you got one, Elizabeth. We got one coming your way.
We will absolutely save some for you guys.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Dan, if you have some questions, we could do them at the end. I just want to make sure everyone gets a chance to comment. So let's go ahead and have our second group go ahead and start in.
All right, hello. To start off, I'd like to introduce myself and my collaborators, and then a little bit about our project. My name is Amanda Salmons, and today I am presenting with John Elrod and Reed Bobronicki. We're working together to expand the location-specific content that is displayed on the 15 environmental dashboard screens in businesses and public institutions around Oberlin. We will further get into what constitutes location-specific content a little bit later, but generally we're talking about visual displays that show viewers the positive goals and actions of organizations that they're in. On the next slide, we have listed all of our partners that we're working with. And as you can see, there's a wide variety of businesses and organizations here, and they all use their screens to varying degrees right now. So they're going to be interacting with us on different levels. Now I'll hand it over to John, who will talk some about the background of our project.
Thanks, Amanda. I'm John Elrod, and I will be talking about the challenges and opportunities that we face in this project. While many of the dashboard screens have already made an impact on the community, there are still ways they can be improved to be more engaging. One way we can do this is to put mission statements of each location on the screens, as well as slides that elaborate on the organization's role in the community. This way, people can better understand what the organization is doing to benefit Oberlin. One issue with some screens are their visuals and their content cohesion. The flow and order of the slides can be improved so the content is easier to understand. For example, at IGA, the mission statement and slides about the store's community involvement can lead into the sales that they already have on their boards today. This way you can learn about the store more and might be more inclined to buy what's on sale and what they're promoting and support the business because of that. Some screens around Oberlin also could use visual improvements, such as the bridge, which has slides that lack eye-catching graphics. We can improve this by incorporating environmental dashboard themed colorways into the slides. Increased interactivity can also draw more attention and engagement with the screens. By integrating mobile controls through an app that can select specific content, such as the mission statements, the partner organizations, environment-related content, this can be done. Our group is responsible for creating slides that promote the use of the app, as well as how to use the app, while the app itself is being developed by the dashboard team. Overall, content relating to the location's connection and purpose in the community, improved slide visuals and increased interactivity can help the dashboard reach more people in Oberlin. All right, so I've talked about the challenges and opportunities we've faced in this project, and now Reed will introduce the specific steps we will take.
Yeah, so what we're doing is approaching this project in 3 different stages. In our first stage, we're just building on the content that already exists in these presentations. This includes creating mission statement slides, which use information pulled from each organization's website, and also creating template slides, something that the Bridge has already expressed interest in having. And Amanda's going to explain these template slides in a bit more detail later on. But this is also the stage where we're going to begin our official communications with these different organizations hosting an environmental dashboard screen. Now, in the collaboration stage, we'll be interacting a bit more with each organization and learning what each one hopes to accomplish with their screen. And then in the third and final stage, we'll be receiving and implementing feedback from these various partner organizations and feedback as well from our peers based on the work we have already done. And based off of these revisions, we will have our final project. Now, Amanda, if you could explain the desired outcomes.
So our ultimate goal is to increase community awareness and identity among people in Oberlin by using the screens as a point of contact with local organizations. We hope that the new content will give community members some insight into the ways that the places they frequent play into a sustainable, resilient Oberlin. As for what that will look like, we've started to list some of our intended products. Firstly, we're making a slide for every location that succinctly displays its mission, as Reed mentioned. Then we'll create some generic slides that can be used on any screen. Among these is a slide promoting the interactivity feature like John explained. It'll encourage them to get the phone app that will allow them to look at all of the dashboard content, including other locations' presentations. Specifically, we're creating a slide that will show that you can access the other specific locations in an all dashboard partners slide. We'll also be creating some template slides, which can be used to easily display things that are timely for each organization, but may not make sense on the community calendar. By creating content that allows the organizations to have some personal touch and keep it up to date, we hope that they will become more active participants with the project. Our most involved products will include a handful of community voices style slides. We intend to connect with some of the owners who are interested in it and get their quotes about their businesses and things and present it in that manner that's familiar to people. Lastly, there will also be some slides that display relevant information about a location, especially for the presentations that could use a little extra development. Here on this next slide, we have an example of how that's already in use in Oberlin at the hotel, where they discuss their use of geothermal energy.
Nice logo.
Thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Is it possible for me at home to access the dashboard by internet? Is there any way I can access it from home?
I don't know, honestly,
Environmental-dashboard.org. If you just type environmental-dashboard.org, you can access all components. So yes, it's www.environmental-dashboard.org.
That's great. Thank you.
Other questions?
Quick question. Was what you were describing, Amanda, like an index? Like you would have a way, so if I wanted to see who all of the different organizations or partners were, there would be an index or that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we're trying to develop something that is sort of an index, but perhaps something more graphic, visual, that people can look at it on the screen, say, oh, okay, I can see this graphic that has all dashboard partners, and I'm sort of imagining a spiral or some sort of representation of all of their logos or symbols around it. And then it says, you can access the index on the phone app, go on the phone app, it'll have the links and the list, and then it'll take you to the other presentations.
Great. Now that would be super helpful.
Diane, do you have any questions or comments you want to get in?
Not right now.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and move on to our third group.
So next you'll hear from Elizabeth, Atticus, and Hannah about their project.
Alrighty, I'd just firstly love to introduce my group. My name is Atticus Kaplan, and my partners, as previously mentioned, are Hannah Scholl and Elizabeth White. Firstly, how many of you guys actually have kids in Oberlin or know kids in Oberlin? Awesome. And how many of them actually know how to navigate Environmental Dashboard? All right, so we're trying to fix that little issue over there.
So the Environmental Dashboard was recently awarded a grant by the Green Edge Fund to kind of develop and implement a new sophisticated environmental dashboard monitoring and display system for the new K through 5th grade school, which is being built and will open in fall of 2021, which I'm sure you all are aware of and are excited about. So this new system is going to include some really exciting new extensive sub-metering of over 20 different areas, such as the gym or different classrooms in the school, kind of showing their very specific energy usage. So we think that there is a need right now to kind of provide educational content that will be able to take advantage of this new awesome system that's being built. And we'll also kind of work to further the education and outreach section of the City of Oberlin's Climate Action Plan as a result.
You're muted, Elizabeth. Oh, never mind.
Okay. With this context in mind, we propose a project to create a picture book for K through 4th graders centered around the environmental dashboard. This book would retell the story of how Oberlin Elementary School students discovered a water leak at Eastwood Elementary through reading water usage data given by the environmental dashboard, while also incorporating educational aspects about the dashboard and climate change. There is a need in our community for a resource that introduces young children to and to fix that.
All right. So our primary challenge is closing the age gap in which viewers can actively engage with Environmental Dashboard. So basically, we want as many people to be able to access and understand the Environmental Dashboard display screens as possible. We have the opportunity to engage students in a creative STEM-based dialogue that asks broad questions and challenges the traditional A plus B equals C model current mainstream STEM education takes. So current STEM education is focused on this getting from point A to point B with no questions asked. We want to really engage the readers in a creative problem solving for issues that don't have one simple answer. By doing this, we hope that the students will both enjoy the storyline and the lessons they learn, but also feel like the STEM education and environmental dashboard are creative problem solving outlets and not just useful tools. Another opportunity we have is to familiarize students with the environmental dashboard displays and the characters Wally and Flash. So as previously stated, a main goal of ours is to improve the relationships between the students and the environmental dashboard. But by utilizing Wally and Flash, who are these like fun, caring, and informative characters on the screens, we hope to create a bond between them and the students that strengthens their connections to the environmental dashboard.
Thus, into our desired goals for the project. By the end of the semester, we intend to have a fully realized picture book about the environmental dashboard, as well as a series of activities and discussion questions designed to highlight information most relevant for the various ages. By completing this book, we hope to A. Increase children's understanding and participation with the environmental dashboard. We want this book to be a stepping stone into the dashboard rather than a destination. By fostering a connection to the dashboard early on, we hope our children will feel inspired to interact with the dashboard later in their lives, such as in high school, when they can better understand it. We also hope to B. Teach children about graphs and other STEM-based learning. We want the children of Oberlin to have a better understanding of scientific concepts after having read our book. And finally, we hope that by encouraging environmental behavior in Oberlin's children population, we will inspire the Oberlin community as a whole to be more environmental. Children often teach what they've learned to others, such as younger students and parents, and we hope to reach out to other members of the Oberlin community.
So for our approach, first and foremost, we plan to kind of draw heavily on the existing repository of environmental dashboard material that already exists. So specifically, for example, there is a whole slideshow that's already been built around the Oberlin Climate Action Plan. And so there are story slides that are kind of explaining climate change. There's one pictured here on this slide as an example. And so we kind of plan to use the existing graphics on this slide as a stepping stone for creating our book. And kind of providing the scientific and explanatory content as well, as the graphics themselves. We also plan to kind of create our storybook using a step-by-step process. So we plan to kind of treat this process as a funnel, starting off with, the establishing very much the overall plot, and then narrowing down to very specific dialogue and graphs page by page. So again, starting off with idea generation, transitioning to a storyboard, then taking those ideas, making dialogue and specific writing out of it, adding graphics that already exist on the website. And then of course, an important aspect of it will also be soliciting feedback from the Oberlin K through 4th grade educators in the public schools. And we plan to do this only once we have a solid draft of our book done. And we'll use John Peterson, our professor, as sort of our initial contact with the teachers. And in developing sort of the educational companion content to the book, outside of just discussion questions, we plan to comb through the instructor toolkit section of the environmental dashboard, making use of the lesson plans and activities and modifying them to fit the book. So you might be sitting there thinking, I have no idea what the instructor toolkit section is. Basically, when you go on the environmental dashboard website, there's a special tab when you go to sort of more, and there's a whole instructor toolkit online that has all these existing lesson plans, different activities that educators can use, some of which have been used in the schools already, and a lot of which are just sort of waiting to be used and are really great kind of potential resource for teachers to use in the new school specifically. So we plan to use these and again, sort of build on them, modify them as necessary, as well as creating some of our own activities. So one idea we had was something called write to Flash or Wally, in which the students can write questions they have to Wally and Flash. And the teachers or maybe future environmental studies, Oberlin College students, or perhaps even the fifth graders in the school can answer those questions for the students in this great sort of collaborative format. Other potential activities might involve using the online components of the dashboard and the building OS technology, which John showed you in the beginning as a preview, where that's the technology that shows the graphs of the different building monitors in the school and also in buildings in town. So using those, having kids answer questions about them, or for younger kids, maybe even having coloring pages, which include questions on how the kids themselves are going to conserve water or electricity. So we kind of thought it would be important to provide you all with a rough outline of what we were thinking about for our current story idea. So we plan to, as Elizabeth mentioned in the beginning, use this true story of how the kids at Eastwood Elementary School saved the school, basically. So in real life, when the kids were studying the environmental dashboard in school and in class to kind of track their water usage, they noticed that Wally, who's this little fish here on the side, Wally the walleye, was looking really, really sad. So the characters on the dashboard respond emotionally to the consumption that's happening and that's shown in the graph. So Wally was looking sad, and the kids felt really kind of concerned and distressed about this because you know, there was a lot of water consumption happening, and they tried all these different methods in class. So the teachers encouraged them to all bring in reusable water bottles, for example, and still, while you know the things that they did incrementally reduced water consumption, there was still this very irregular gap that needed to be filled. So based on the concern of the students and the teachers, long and behold, a leak was discovered in the school. And so basically the kids effectively, by noticing Wally and kind of by using the dashboard, were able to help save the school, both financially and also in terms environmentally through reducing water consumption. So we plan to kind of first off, establish in the get-go of the book that the kids helped save the school and that there was this leak that happened. We then plan to use a similar funnel effect where we really zoom out and say, okay, well, what does this leak have to do with climate change? What is climate change? Why is it important? And how does it relate to Oberlin specifically? We then plan to have Wally and Flash kind of give a crash course lesson and explain how to use the environmental dashboard and the graphs there. Then we plan to kind of go back to the story and explain how the kids actually did use the dashboard in real life to help discover this leak and to help kind of change their behavior. So this part will include the trial and error that the kids went through of trying different tactics to reduce their consumption, while ultimately, of course, kind of saving the day in the end, realizing that there was a leak. And we really feel it's important to end our book with having Wally and Flash establish how, of course, these kids who came before them helped to save the school, but really challenging the kids to then say, okay, what are you going to do now? And giving them different actions that they can do in their everyday lives to sort of be everyday heroes for the environment and for Oberlin.
Now, we are still in the developmental stages of our book, and we have multiple questions such as an example we chose to base our story around and effective in communicating our message? Should we scrap out that story entirely and just make it a mystery? And how long do we want this book to be?
As we continue to develop our story, we hope to answer these questions and more as we work together to make the best book we can for Oberlin and its students. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
I think that rather than taking questions right now, because we're now a little bit behind schedule, I think I'd like to move on to the next group and then do questions after that, just so that we make sure we don't end up constraining our final group, and then we can come back to questions for both of these groups.
All right.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah, you want to switch to present mode. The little button at the top into present mode. Perfect.
Oh, nice.
When I push the space bar, I have to unmute myself. Just trying to get my.
Google, please work properly challenge. Nick, you're muted.
There we go. All right. Yeah, that was my problem. Whenever I went to click the space bar, it just flew through all the slides. All right. There we go. So there's a lot of problems in the nation. There's one, is COVID just presented with Zoom. I mean, trying to get this kind of format, it's kind of all chaotic. There's a bunch of other problems in the environment, and there's problems in education. And here I'm going to talk about a problem in the K-12 classroom, and that's inquiry-based learning. There's this extreme lack of inquiry-based learning in K-12 education. And inquiry-based learning is defined as a learning approach that highlights the student's role in education as opposed to the teachers. Now this, think maybe problem solving, detective work, investigative work, as opposed to the lecture where students simply just absorb all the knowledge that already is known from the teacher. Now in the real world, scientists and engineers' sole job is to search for answers for which the problems are not already known. And countless studies have shown the linkage between this inquiry-based learning, searching for problems that are the answers are not already known, and motivation in the classroom. And we want to excite the next generation of scientists and engineers and not have them rot away in the class, not getting hired to maybe pursue a career in STEM. And one of the biggest reasons why there's a lack of inquiry-based learning in K-12 education is because to implement it, we have and we want to share a resource, and here to share is Gwen.
Oh, next slide, please. If Google will manage to do that properly.
There we go.
If you want, I can do the screen share instead.
I think I got it now.
Mine was working all right last I checked. Anyhow, that is where Building OS comes in. It's something very similar to, but slightly different from Environmental Dashboard, where Environmental Dashboard is like the front end. Building OS is the back end. It's the data collection and visualization tool that forms the framework of environmental dashboards readout. It collects data on electricity, water, natural gas usage, among other things, in real time from various buildings around Ohio, including the Great Lakes Science Center, which is the focus of our project. There is huge educational potential with this tool because the data is so in real time, it is so locally relevant that it can actually provide real-time feedback on the actions of the people using it.
This technology, however, is extremely underutilized, and that's mostly because there's a learning curve. There are a few workshops, which the primary goal of those workshops are to educate teachers on how to use the technology. However, from my experience of going to one, they're extremely underattended. I want to say less than 12 teachers there, and the information that was gained in those workshops could easily have been lost, and there was no involvement of students. So students had to rely on the information going from Professor Peterson to the teachers, and then the teachers to the students. So to eliminate that, what we propose today to do is to create an instructional video for teachers and students that is COVID adapted and will go over the nuts and bolts of the technology. One, we want to show viewers how to log in through Environmental Dashboard to access the technology. Second, we want to show viewers how to access the desired data. For example, if somebody wants to access a Great Lakes Science Center heat map or the electricity usage from last week, we will show them how to do that. And also what to do with that data. For an example here, this is the Great Lakes Science Center electricity usage over the past week. Now, as you can see, right around Tuesday, there's a giant gap in the electricity use. But then around Wednesday, that gap is non-existent. And we can use patterns like this to build the foundation for inquiry-based learning in the classroom.
To that end, and to increase engagement, this will not simply be a tutorial. Instead, the video is going to be framed in the sense of a narrative, somewhat similar actually to the picture book from last project, in which Flash has a problem, an electricity use spike at the Great Lakes Science Center, and he needs your help solving it. In terms of structure, the video is going to contain some inbuilt pause points, so that'll be a still screen and some narration. So that'll prompt viewers to pause the video and follow along in building OS or a companion activity that we intend to create for themselves. For visual interest and some help with instructional aid, we are going to create a few simple vector animations, which for the students' benefit, for the benefit of my classmates, are similar to animations already existent in the presentations from Great Lakes Science Center that we already saw earlier in the term. We also intend to create a consistent visual language that is also somewhat internally consistent with environmental dashboard to help create a sense of cohesiveness and flow in the video. And we also have a first test of Detective Flash that I drew the other day. Can you go forward, please, Nick? And looking forward into the future, this is probably going to be the purview of future iterations of this class, but further in the future, when the new K-5 school is built, we intend to at least arrange for the creation of another video, basically an adaptation of the one we'll be making this term that is specific to the Oberlin Public Schools instead of Great Lakes Science Center. We're going to look at the success or lack thereof of this video. We're going to figure out what worked and what didn't, and pass that information on to whoever is going to be creating the school-based video. So that's how our project is going. Our project is not going to have a limited lifespan, basically. And I think that's about it. Are there any questions? Professor Peterson, you're muted.
Thank you. I was going to suggest that maybe we start with Linda, because I know she's extraordinarily time constrained, and questions or comments to either of the last presentations. Oh, maybe we've already lost Linda.
All right, sorry, that whole mute thing just goes on and on. One question that I have about the presentation second to last was talking about children and the specific learnings, I guess, how to make them age appropriate and think about, you know, what makes most sense for kids of certain ages. That was the one thing that I think is really important. I wonder if you've given that any thought.
I'd say as a group, we've been doing some extensive research into other like children's books, specifically in like the K-5 range. And we've been kind of workshopping like what worked for us at that age and what worked for our friends at that age. So yeah, we have been taking a lot of consideration into like how we're going to make it age appropriate and really get the kids engaged with it and not just have it be something that just goes straight over their head or is too dumbed down for them. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And yeah, I didn't have any other questions.
So floor is open for questions on either group.
I have a couple of comments. So Elizabeth, for the storybook, that would be group 3. Because of the progressive development of kids from, let's say, kindergarten through grade 4, might you consider having 2 storybooks, one very, very basic, and maybe around third grade, 3rd and 4th grade will be a little bit more challenging. That's just an idea to think about, and more work. Sorry. And let's see, for the last group, well, first of all, let me go back to the storybook. I think it is a great idea to engage kids. I mean, you know, they like the graphics. They like the challenge of asking questions and having them pursue solutions. So I think that's really great. The last group talked about the lack of inquiry learning. I couldn't agree more. The instructional video for both teachers and students, I think that is a great idea. So it's a living project, as Gwyneth, I believe you stated, that this is something that would not be static. It would just continue to change. And for the next group who would take it on, they would continue with that. So I think that's a wonderful idea. Let's see. The second group, I think you said the index was being developed so that someone going on the dashboard will be able to search for a specific item or activity that they're interested in. Did I get that right?
You said with the interactive app searching for different items?
Yes, I think you said that the index was being developed. It's not developed yet.
Yes,
It's being
not yet.
developed.
It's being worked on by a different group that's not in this Zoom call. Oh, never mind. It's being developed by Rowan, who is in this Zoom call. Okay, yes. And so we don't know how it functions, but we are creating the content. But from what we've heard, it sounds like it will, yes, show all the different content for a presentation and allow people to go to specific content on the screen that they're at.
That would be a great time saver.
Right. So they're creating the content and we're creating like the directory for that, basically.
Okay. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I think you all did a wonderful job. I've learned a lot, an awful. I don't have any kids in school. I don't have any grandchildren in school, but this is kind of exciting, what you're working on. So thank you very much.
Diane, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm really curious about, just anything that any of the presentations, made you think, ideas you have, anything.
Yeah, I've been taking notes the whole time. So I do have some questions and comments. So for the first group with the calendar, communication is my thing. So, I just have some questions and comments about that. I think you're right on track. Particularly during COVID times, some of those static locations for posters and flyers, we've been using IGA, Dollar General, like those types of places that we know people have to go to get information out. I know there is a focus on social media, email blasts, definitely utilize other organizations within the community that already have these email newsletters established. We have one, Oberlin Business Partnership just started to use one. So that's something that you can kind of tap in and partner with those organizations to get that information out there. I would also target some of the senior citizen groups within the community. We kind of tend to overlook them as far as the digital media goes, but they're just as active. So, Kendall has a newsletter too, the Senior Center, those types of organizations. And I mean, depending on how things go, we've also been using the mail more, actual snail mail. So, sending out a postcard with the link on it sometimes helps. Linda just did the sustainability, the transportation survey. That was part of that, just sending out a postcard, hey, this is going on, link right to it, just to get it in front of people. So that's my comments on that. For the next group, is it the content that's being developed, is that by this specific locations, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Amanda.
Oh yeah. Could you like just I guess elaborate on that, because it's definitely a lot of different pieces.
I guess is the process, do the specific locations send you the information and you input it, or do you allow them to update their own content?
So we're kind of trying to get a little bit of both, because as of right now, they're currently, if they want to, they put their own content in the slides. And so we're making certain content that we're, doing interviews with them, looking at their websites and stuff, making that, putting that in, making sure that they're happy with it. But some of it's stuff that we're making. But then as far as with the templates and that sort of side of the project, that's where we're going to have something that is like, hey, if you didn't have a plan for what you were doing with your slide before, here's some stuff you can do. You can update it to make it easier for people who maybe aren't as technologically inclined.
Right. So yeah, that was my question too, on like how training would happen, how you get that information out there for people that aren't maybe so tech savvy. Also, you might want to think about developing some sort of process or routine to ensure that content is updated every once in a while. I have this problem within the city. Our web pages are, have events from 6 months ago, like, hey, you got to update that. Just to have those routines in as those reminders, I think would be helpful, because it's not going to be something that's necessarily, on the top of the organization's mind kind of thing. So that might be something to think about. And then for the last, the storybook, I had the same question about, for K through 4, that's a vast change in education and how that's achieved. So, I don't know if that's creating more than one story or making one more advanced than the other. Or is this something that develops into kind of a multi-level program? So the storybook could be for the younger kids, and then, as they progress in the grades, remember this story, and you have more advanced activities that go along with it and follow-up things. So that might be something to think about. And, also not to, add to your projects or anything like that, make them ginormous. You can also think about how you would engage in a project like this outside of a classroom setting. There are other organizations within the city. Our recreation program has an after-school enrichment program, so that they bring in speakers and different type of activities all the time. So maybe that's something that you could have a little bit more activity-based. You could do something, in the gymnasium or outside of a classroom setting that still goes along with what's going on in the story. That's it.
Let me just jump in because I'm going to check out. I want to thank all the presenters. I thought you all did such a good job. I'm so impressed that this was your first take. You're all super professional, and I think you're going to do great work. I'm also happy to be contacted via email or cell if you wanted to talk about any of this further. So thanks again, and good luck with your projects.
Thank you.
Bye, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Excellent.
Diana or Elizabeth, do either of you guys have any parting comments? We don't want to take more of your time than we booked for. But if you have any parting.
I just learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to watching the progress. This is
Well,
great.
Elizabeth,
So,
Elizabeth, I think our students learned quite a bit from your comments. So thank you so much for participating.
well, guys, keep on going. Oh, I have a personal question. Annika, those headphones look pretty good. What kind of headphones are those?
Wait, which headphones?
They're Beats
Oh.
Studio. My parents gave them to me for Christmas because I was begging for a while. But I think they're pretty affordable too, out of the Beats brand. I
Well,
recommend them.
Well, thank you, honey, because I have a problem sometimes hearing things going on the internet. So, and my stories that I listen to from Kindle. So, anyway, thank you very much, and you guys just keep on going. You're doing great work.
Thanks
Appreciate
so
it.
much. We really appreciate it. Dan, thank you as well.
Yes, thank you. Great projects. Keep going.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
All right, crew, are you ready to pass through the rain and get yourself to class?
Uh,
All right, see you in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Here.